Hey everyone, it's Susan Pierce Thompson and welcome to the weekly vlog. I'm here with Irina Lee. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Irina Lee lives in Norway and we are in Oslo right now, my husband David and I, and we have spent the last few days walking around Oslo. I will tell you that we love Oslo. My husband is Norwegian in background, and when we land in the Oslo airport, we feel completely at home. There's something about, this country is like made in an IKEA mold or something. There's something very organized and well run and well functioning and beautiful about it, and there's sculpture everywhere, and the people are
good weather every time you come.
Thank you for arranging that for us. This is our second time in Norway. We came 2 years ago for the release of the book, Spis Deg Fri.
So Spis Deg Fri is the Norwegian edition, the Norwegian version, the translation of the Bright Line Eating book, which I published in my publishing company 2 years ago.
So Irina has a publishing company herself, and she does Bright Line Eating. She's a Bright Lifer. How much weight have you lost? You've lost some weight?
I lost 40 pounds.
40 pounds and kept that off?
Kept that off. It's my 4th year.
4 years?
So I started October 15, lost all the weight, 40 pounds in 200 days. I was amazed. You were right. I became happy, thin and free. And since April of 16, I've kept it off.
Yeah. Now, Irina is a pioneer. Because she had a publishing company, she was able to buy the rights to the Bright Line Eating book and publish it in Norwegian. What's the translation of Spis Deg Fri? What does that mean?
So it literally means eat yourself free.
Eat yourself free,
so
like eat yourself free.
Eat yourself free from being overweight, eat yourself free from having cravings, and eat yourself free from having all those terrible health conditions that a lot of people struggle with, right?
Yeah,
that has something to do with their eating habits.
Yeah, so lots of people have approached me over the years to ask, I want to spread Bright Line Eating in my country, and I've said no. The reason that Irina has gotten to do this is because she owned a publishing company and bought the rights to the book. She didn't buy them from me, she bought them from Hay House. And then all the work she's done to spread Bright Line Eating in Norway has been in service of spreading the book. And the book came out as #2 on the Norwegian national bestsellers list 2 years ago, It was the first country, the first language that Bright Line Eating, the book, was translated into was Norwegian, the very first one.
I haven't really told you this, but I hadn't really read the book before I bought the rights.
That's funny.
I just knew that if Susan is writing a book, it's going to be so amazing. So I just reached out to Hay House and they said, yeah, it's not really finished yet, but you will have it once it's finished.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. That just be positive and just assume good things. So because of what she did early on, she's become a pioneer also offering courses in Norwegian and starting a community of people who don't speak English and offering them a way to do Bright Line Eating in a way that's culturally relevant in Norway. What are some things that you changed about Bright Line Eating or maybe modified to be more culturally relevant in Norway?
So like some of the Norwegian traditional foods, they're really like so heavily into the NMF side, right? Not my foods.
Sugar and flour,
Sugar and flour. So what you would send to, what would you take for work? It would be like slices of bread. You would not eat a warm lunch typically in Norway. Okay. So you have slices of bread with like sweet cheese and jam on it, for example.
Yeah, and that's lunch.
That would be lunch, right? And that would also be your breakfast, and that would also be your late supper meal. So just finding
sugar, flour, and fat, all 3 meals.
Right.
Awesome.
And so just having like Norwegians understand that there are options.
Yeah.
It is possible to have a lunch, and you can pack your lunch and bring it to work without having bread in it.
Yeah.
Just like those cultural differences, and we don't go out to eat normally during lunch breaks. Like you wouldn't go to a restaurant. So and also what you would order in restaurants also differ a little bit from the US. So it was all of those tweaks, like those daily routines you would need in order to succeed.
And weighing food in grams instead of ounces. Do your people weigh in grams primarily?
Yeah, that was one of my main concerns when I started myself. I don't even know how much is an ounce. And then when I started, and I remember someone telling me, you can just switch the flip on your digital food scale and it will actually show you in ounces.
Yeah, ounces, grams. Right. You can just press back and forth.
Right, the units, right?
Yeah.
And then when I found out it was so much easier to do it in ounces.
I know, I always tell people that.
And then And even my translator who helped me with the book, she said, you can't put the food plan in ounces. And I said, it has to be in ounces. And here are the reasons.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I just say it?
No, I don't
those
mind.
Norwegians listening?
Because I'm always the one who says this. It's great for someone who thinks in grams to actually explain it. Why is it better in ounces?
First of all, I have some things about 28 grams. Doesn't sound like a lot of food. So just having a quantity that I don't know how much is, like 1 ounce, it was like it made the distance to how much or little I'm eating. It made it like.
Got it.
You know.
So the equivalent would be if you think in pounds, like you think your weight is 200 pounds or 250 pounds, you feel overweight. Just convert that to kilos if you don't think in kilos,
and then 97,
suddenly you don't care what you eat.
You're only 97 kilos, right? So and also because if you look at the food plan, it's like 4 ounces of meat. That's a protein.
Yeah.
Like 6 ounces of fruit. That is like a fruit. So the servings are so much easier to automatize once you get into the habits of as half an ounce, 1 ounce, 2 ounce, 4 ounce, 6 ounce.
Right.
Instead of having to like think 28 grams.
113 grams of protein. 4 ounces is 113 grams.
Right.
Yeah.
And also the last thing, of course, is that if you put a scale into grams, you will never be able to precisely weigh a blueberry.
It's too precise.
It's too precise. So it's easier
like one blueberry throws you over or under, and then you're like, now you're into cutting blueberries in quarters, which is ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't have that much willpower, at least.
Yeah, totally.
So if you're a human, go over to ounces.
So you convince your people to actually weigh in ounces, and they go along with it once you explain.
And once they read the book, they understand, and then they just follow the advice.
So let's back up a little bit. I want to talk about bright line eating in Europe in general. Now I know Norway is one country in Europe. It's an amazing country, but it's just one country in Europe. What do you think what's one of the first things that maybe someone in America might not realize about overweight, obesity, about bright line eating in Europe? What do you think is going on here in Europe?
So the first thing people often ask me is like, but Norway, you don't have obesity. I mean, you are healthy.
Right.
You're sane. And I'm like, no, we're not. 7 out of 10 Norwegians are overweight or obese.
Wait. 7 out of 10 Norwegians? That's the same number as in America. 7 out of 10. If you don't know the current stats, we're right now at 71% of Americans are overweight or obese today. 71%. 7 out of 10 for you too.
7 out of 10. And this was the latest research that came out last year. And when it comes to obesity, I think the numbers for men and women are around 23% of the population, like 1 out of 5 are obese.
Okay, so 23% obese. Okay, so there's the difference. In America, we're now at 40% obese. So that means that you have 7 out of 10 overweight or obese, but more are overweight still. You haven't quite caught up with obesity. You're 23% obese. We're 40% obese.
Right. But I think it's interesting that you say caught up, because I think that we're heading in your direction.
You're trending.
Definitely.
Right? Yeah, just a few years behind, basically.
And if we look at the food trends and what is being offered in the stores here, it's so similar to what was like.
The advertisements are the same. Like I look at the billboards and it's all NMF, sugar and flour everywhere. And actually, like you say, your cultural food is very heavy in sugar and flour. It's just maybe in the past, maybe there were better boundaries around meals and quantities that are now. What's changing then?
I think that, like, if you go back 2 generations, we were so poor that we didn't have any options then to eat like the
fast food and
before the fast food was came to this country in the beginning of the 80s, we didn't really have an obesity problem.
Right. How come? What was different?
No,
because you were poor.
Yeah, we ate normal foods. We didn't eat all of the industrial processed food, right? We had more like a traditional kitchen. And then after I think McDonald's was established in Norway in 81. Okay. And that you can see this. That's where it starts. Yeah. That's where the shift starts. So for the last 40 years, people have just become fatter and fatter and bigger and bigger.
So you think more processed foods?
More processed foods.
One of the big differences.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about historically the traditionally Norwegian foods were actually sugar, flour, bread with sweet whatever.
Right, but
jam.
I think it would be easier to handle all of that if you had a proper. Of course, the access to food wasn't as available as it is today, right?
Right.
Now you would stop on your way to work, get something, On your way home from work, you'll get something. When the sugar crash happens at 3 p.m., you will get something, right?
So eating more often during the day.
More often, definitely.
Yeah, totally. So one of the things that you're doing, like I said, is you're offering you're offering a translation of the Bright Line Eating book, and you're offering a course that people can take, but it's different than the Bootcamp, yeah?
Right, so yeah, because like I'm a yoga teacher myself. So I've included yoga, which I found is a perfect fit to everything we learn in Bright Line Eating. I mean, I'm a huge, everyone, okay, let me also add this. If you are fluent in English, if you can understand what Susan and I are talking about, go to her bootcamp. I mean, that's what I did in 2015, right?
Yeah.
So, but there are so many people who reached out to me as the book came out, like saying, I don't speak English. How can I do this? So, of course, there's a language barrier, also the cultural thing, and including other beneficial stuff that I found helpful in my own journey.
Yeah.
And we have different journeys. And I also think that your experience is unique.
Are you a 7 on the scale? Do I remember that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little different there too.
The first time I actually did your test, I was a 5. Oh, but then you changed it.
Yes.
And then I came out as a 6.
Okay.
And I've tried to do it as bad as I possibly can, even like exaggerating a little bit, and then I came out as an 8.
Okay.
So let's say
somewhere between a 5 and an 8. Okay.
And it's like sometimes, but I treat myself as if I am a 10 plus plus.
Ah, so you're very...
I'm very surrendered. I don't even... when you say like some of you who are lower on the susceptibility scale might get away with this, I'm like, I'm not listening.
Yeah.
Because I know that's what can trip me up.
Yeah, you value your freedom too much.
So I'm really like conservative.
Good for you.
Right.
Good for you.
Because I feel that I have had the consequences as a 10 plus plus. You know?
The consequences, like what? What consequences?
So feeling so bad about myself. The shame,
really low self-esteem,
the low self-esteem, a lot of shame, that like desperate search for a solution. Like, why can't I just nail this? I get so much else done in my life. I have a career. I'm successful. Yeah. So why do I fail over and over again?
Yeah.
And there's nothing I want that I could risk me taking me back to that place.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sweetheart. So what I think is coming in Bright Line Eating land is that over the next few years, we will see more and more people representing different countries being pioneers like Irina. But not everybody who wants to do that owns a publishing company. So the road will be a little bit different. We don't yet have an on-ramp for people who want to represent their nationality or their language to become a representative of Bright Line Eating. But I think it's coming. We've been talking about this for many years, and I feel it closer than ever. So if you're in another country or speak another language and you want to be a representative of Bright Line Eating, I will say we don't have that mechanism yet unless you own a publishing company. But I think it's coming. And what's exciting is to look at the future. So speak a little bit about Norway in particular. How big is Norway, first of all?
So we are 5 million people.
5 million people, like the size of not even that big of a US city.
Right, half of New York, right?
Yeah, less,
right.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, half of Manhattan.
Right, half of Manhattan.
Yeah, a third of LA.
And we are one of the longest countries in Europe. Right. So what's interesting, even though the health, what do you call it? The healthcare system is really conservative in terms of the golden standard. They would tell you if you want to lose weight, they will tell you exercise more and eat less.
Does that sound familiar? Eat less, exercise more. Yeah.
Raise your hand if that ever worked.
Oh, whoops.
No, and then since we're so few people, you can actually make, like me, the last time you were here, we were on public television. So many people changed their diet after seeing Susan on TV.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
When the book came out, I was in Norway, and we were on morning television.
And they still refer back to that, right?
Yeah.
So like one TV program, a lot of people I've met, like they read an article, a magazine article that I was featured in 2017, right?
Right, and right after this, I'll be interviewed again on some sort, and there'll be some sort of, what is this, an article that's going to come out? A magazine article that's going to come out.
Right, so I know that just like, because we're so few, one article like that can make a huge shift, right? So even though we're a conservative country, new ideas have the possibility to be spread.
To take off and spread widely,
right.
And really to cover the whole country. So right now today, let me just tell you what's happening. 2 days ago, we had an event with about 150 attendees, most of whom were people in Norway who already do Bright Line Eating, thanks to Irina and thanks to the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp.
Also a lot of Bright Lifers coming from all over Europe, Latvia, Belgium, Switzerland, Sweden.
And today we're doing an event right here in this hall with about 80 healthcare professionals from all over Norway, including, for example, the one psychologist who works in the one bariatric surgery clinic. So all of Norway has one bariatric surgery office.
More.
Oh, you do? Yeah. Oh, I was wrong about that.
Right. We do, but she's like one in Oslo.
The one in Oslo, okay. So, and she does Bright Line Eating. So now the person who consults with people before they get bariatric surgery actually starts to tell them about Bright Line Eating. So it's interesting. Again, it doesn't take that much. These 70 or 80 healthcare practitioners are going to, blanket Norway and carry a different message. So, yeah.
Because I also, I've shared this with you, and it's kind of embarrassing to say it out loud, but I got this vision that by spreading this word, and I'm a journalist, as my profession is a journalist, so I have a duty to share this wisdom and this knowledge because people need it, right? And then in my morning meditation saying we will need to change Health Norway, the healthcare system, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I also even though I love helping individuals and sharing the book, and it's available in the library for free if you can afford it, so the knowledge is out there, but still I need to talk to the professionals as well because they are the ones who are sitting with the key to change. Yeah. And then I'm thinking, if we can just change Norway first, then you can look to Norway, you can tell everyone look to Norway.
Yeah.
And then we will have this global shift.
Yeah, totally. So there's the possibility of doing that. You can actually change an entire country if you live in Norway. You can have an impact really over an entire country, and then that country serving as an example can spread throughout Europe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my team put a link below to the talk that I'm going to give here in just a few minutes, just the slides of it so you can see for yourself, and some of the publications that have come out. So something that's different now as I talk to these healthcare professionals compared to 2 years ago is that Bright Line Eating's been busy collecting data and publishing that data. So again, of course, when you present to healthcare practitioners, if you have published findings, it means a lot more. So this stuff just takes time, right? And from 2 years ago to now, we've done a lot more work. And so it's sort of it's a movement that just takes time to get off the ground, but we're maybe on the precipice of a tipping point that's going to be pretty exciting here in Norway. You feel it?
Yeah, I feel it.
Does it feel
it's
like that?
Whoa, it's happening. There's a shift. And also one last thing, because a lot of people have also reached out to me, how can we do this in France, Sweden, Switzerland? And I'm thinking the most important thing I have done is to take care of my own lines. I think no one would have been attracted to this if I hadn't been doing it myself.
Your own Bright Line Eating program,
right.
Yeah?
Doing the program myself, that is what I'm thinking. When Susan was talking, she was a professor, she was a psychologist, doctor in psychology, all of that, but the credentials that I was listening to, that you're doing this yourself.
Right.
That's what.
And I'd been thin at that point for over a decade after having been obese. Yeah.
Right. So, even though you don't own a publishing company, just by doing it yourself, you will become what Susan calls us, a walking billboard.
A walking billboard. Irina, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And that's the weekly vlog. I'll see you next week.